I'm Alice, 26 years old, working as a switchboard operator for a hospital in Miami, Florida. My work is divided into two shifts, day shift and night shift. I often sign up to work the night shift because the night shift will have a higher pay. The work is not too difficult, but requires me to apply a lot of knowledge and skills at the same time. I will receive and handle calls to the hospital, provide information about services, support patients and customers, answer questions, and direct them to relevant departments. One evening, I was on duty. It was about 11 p.m. I received a call. Hello? How may I help you? I called to ask for guidance on how to help a girl be happy again. It was the voice of a man. I guess he was in his 40s. I was quite surprised by this case, but realized this was not an emergency. Maybe this man is quite meticulous in taking care of his loved ones. I asked him gently. I am very willing, sir. May I ask what your name is? Logan. Yes, Mr. Logan. I wonder if the person you are interested in is your wife or daughter?
She is not my wife, nor my daughter. We just met 2 hours ago. I already forgot her name.
His answer surprised me again, and I was silent for about 3 seconds. I asked him how she was doing. The man was silent for a moment, then spoke in a laughing voice.
She seemed very scared. She was crying. She seemed to be shaking.
Can I talk to her, sir? The man immediately refused when he heard my suggestion. He said he wanted to take care of the girl himself. I patiently continued the conversation with a bad feeling about this man. I hastily asked for the man's current address. He laughed.
Let me think for a moment. There are so many people here. So many, they are all lying quietly at my feet.
I remained silent at Logan's confusing answer. He suddenly laughed, said he was just joking, and read the address to me. Working very quickly on the computer, I realized it was an area near the cemetery, about 20 kilometers from the hospital. Suddenly, a girl's moans rang out from the other end of the line. I listened attentively. The moans seemed to come out while being gagged. Is something wrong, sir?
Oh no, my girl is a bit resistant. I don't like this at all.
I heard a punch or something. I'm sure it was the sound of force being applied to the human body. I was very confused with all the inferences. That man spoke up.
She's better now, and she's looking at me with angry eyes.
I try to reassure myself and do my job properly. Mr. Logan, please let me speak to... Before I could finish my sentence, a painful sound rang out very clearly. Next was some sticky sound. My heart beat fast. I felt scared and creepy with my own speculations. On the other end of the line, a creepy laugh rang out.
She didn't look at me anymore, nor did she protest. She was sleeping on the floor.
I didn't answer anymore. My hands worked quickly on the computer. I quickly dispatched the ambulance and police car to the location the man named Logan had provided. After nearly 20 minutes, police cars and ambulances arrived at the location I identified. It is the guard building of a local cemetery. After calling loudly and no one responded, the police immediately rushed in. The scene inside the room made all the police and medical staff present there freeze. On the floor is the intact body of the female guard. All of her toes and fingers were severed. Blood splattered all over the walls, floors, tables, and chairs. She lost both eyes. The mouth was sewn tightly shut. The clothes have many rough cuts. All cameras in the cemetery were stolen. 2 surveillance computer screens were also smashed. The police also could not collect any further evidence to investigate the man named Logan. The following days, I was filled with regret. I should have called the police sooner when I noticed something unusual. I heard the entire process of that pervert murdering the female security guard without being able to save her. Police are still actively looking for information about Logan. I'm also not sure if the name he called himself is accurate or not. About a week later, I'm also on the night shift. On duty that day, there were many accidents and emergencies. My mind was extremely stressed. I had just rested a bit. At around 12 o'clock, the phone rang again. I regained my composure and answered the phone with a professional attitude. The other end of the line was silent for a moment, then spoke.
Do you remember me?
I immediately fell into panic because I immediately recognized that voice as Logan's. Before I could react, he continued to haunt me. He accurately described my physical characteristics and the clothes I was wearing. Even scarier was the mole on the back of my neck, which he could also see. I stood up in fear and looked around the office. Logan's loud laughter rang out from the phone. The perverted and disgusting voice made my limbs weak.
Do you want to spend a memorable night with me?
I'm Glenda, 32 years old. I'm a single mother and have a little daughter named Alita, who is 4 years old. My daughter and I live happily in a small house in Boston near the Atlantic coast. I'm working as a nursing staff for a local hospital. The income is decent, so I can give Alita a full life. Alita is my anchor in life and the best thing I have. She helped me get through a terrible time 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I married Steven. My ex-husband is 3 years older than me and is a rich businessman. He is famous for his love of flowers. I followed my friend's advice and gave my absolute love and trust to Steven. We live in a large house in the city of Philadelphia, over 3,000 miles from my current residence. 5 months after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. Steven was extremely happy when he heard the news. He burst into tears and hugged me. Steven took very good care of me, giving all the good things to me and the baby in my belly. At the 20th week of pregnancy, my husband and I discussed organizing a party to guess the baby's gender. After consulting with the doctor about my health condition and some related issues, my husband and I excitedly prepared for the party, from the colors and decoration themes of the party, games and activities, along with gifts for guests. I asked the doctor to write down the baby's gender on a piece of paper and give it to my best friend to prepare the cake. The party takes place at 8 p.m. at the swimming pool behind the house. The couple's relatives and guests all came. My husband has many important friends and partners. There are people I have never met before, but out of politeness, I still greeted them happily. I'm impressed with a girl named Maria. Maria is so beautiful. She said she's also pregnant at 20 weeks. We shared a lot about our pregnancy story, but I couldn't see Maria's belly clearly, probably because the white dress she was wearing was quite loose. A happy atmosphere covered the party. Steven and I held hands and stood at the center. I can feel the baby in my belly is also happy and kicking gently. The main part of the party is announcing the baby's gender. Everyone was excited and nervous. Small cakes were prepared for each guest. The cake that reveals the baby's gender will have a different color filling than the rest. I was quite surprised when the cake sample was very different from the sample my best friend sent me to see. But it's not too important, so I happily ignore it. Everyone raises their head and counts to 3 to simultaneously break the cake in half. I was quite nervous and shaking, so I was a little slower than everyone else. Everyone's cakes and Steven's were all blue. When I broke the cake in my hand, a red liquid shot out, causing me to scream in surprise. Everyone cheered and congratulated. Pink confetti shot up behind my husband and I. My baby's a girl. Steven happily hugged me, but I didn't react because I smelled a very fishy smell. My hands are covered in blood from the cake. From inside the cake, a baby's tiny hand fell out. Everyone was surprised. The atmosphere was quiet. My heart beat very fast. The smell of blood and that horrible image made me dizzy. Suddenly, a loud, crazy laugh caught everyone's attention. From below the guests, the girl Maria just stepped forward, looking at my husband and me with angry eyes. "What do you think, Steven?" "That's your baby. It's also a girl, and it's 20 weeks. She pointed to the infant's hand on the ground. I turned to look at my husband with puzzled eyes. Steven looked at me confused and shouted angrily at Maria. "Shut! Whoever allowed you to be here, go away!" Maria laughed loudly again, looking like she had lost her mind. She opened the bag in her hand and pulled out a child's body the size of a large banana from inside and held it up high. Everyone at the party panicked. I held my stomach, so shocked that I couldn't stand. I fainted. Before my eyes is a scary black shadow. Suddenly there was the sound of children crying. The space before my eyes was spinning. The baby's cry echoed and persisted. The newborn baby's face had wide open eyes, red skin, and a big smile with a dark shadow deep inside. I jumped up in surprise and quickly touched my stomach. Surely my girl's still here with me? I was in the hospital. My mother, sitting next to the bed, burst into tears when she saw me wake up. After leaving the hospital, I understood everything clearly. Maria is Stephen's lover. He was with that girl the whole time he loved and married me. Maria and I got pregnant at the same time. When asked to provide and take responsibility for the baby for Maria, Stephen beat Maria, even though she was pregnant with his child. Maria had a miscarriage and suffered from severe emotional turmoil. I filed a lawsuit against Stephen in court. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. I moved to Boston to live, and all the time after that I had nightmares about the newborn until Alita was born. The two of us are living a peaceful and happy life.